Excuse me, ma'am.
This call is now being recorded. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Today we are going to start with a new topic, which is actually market segmentation in sports. Okay, so market segmentation, we have already studied what is market segmentation. We know what is market segmentation. So, can anybody explain me what is market segmentation? What is market segmentation? Nobody?
Ma'am, on the basis of some products, we classify into some groups in segments.
Right. Very good. Very good. So what do? We basically divide the market on the basis of our product into small segments, or we can say that we are dividing a heterogeneous market into homogeneous subparts. And these homogeneous subparts have some kind of similarity in them. So this is called as market segmentation. So these are the lecture objectives of today's class, what it is. So we are going to understand the market segmentation. We have already understood in the past class, but today we are going to understand in the sports perspective because we are studying sports management. So it is important to understand marketing segmentation in sports management purview. Next is why it is so important. See, I've already told you that planning is the most important part of marketing. If you don't do the planning right, you are not going to succeed in the marketing effort, right? So, planning, market segmentation is very important because your promotional strategies are directed as per your planning requirements. For example, you are planning that you are going to target youngsters, right? So promotional activities should be that way. Your promotional activities should be youthful, should be colorful, should have hopes, should have music, should have a young celebrity, or maybe those kind of things, right? So why it is important? Because planning is very important in marketing, and when we do planning, then only we will be able to segment the market and promote the market successfully. State of being, state of mind, it depends on the customers that what state of mind, what state of life cycle he is in, then we are going to promote this product, right? For example, a person who is 65 years old, you cannot sell him sport shoes. These are for no use for him, but you can sell him some comfortable shoes which are breathy, which have a good fabric, a good sole, a soft sole is being used, right? So it depends on the consumer also that what state of being or what state of mind consumers are in. Product benefits and product usage. Product benefits means how that product is going to be useful for the customer, and product usage means what is the usage rate of the customer, right? If the person is a sports personnel, he is using that product on the daily basis, he is going for his trainings for practice on daily basis, so you want that product daily, right? Or what are the benefits for that product for him means how that product is making his life easy, that is product benefits, right? Let's go to the next slide. So this diagram basically helps you understand that market segmentation is basically a bridge, right? A bridge between managerial analysis and managerial actions. When I say managerial analysis means managerial planning. So we have to plan that what kind of product you are making, and that kind of product will appeal to what kind of audience. So you will have to segment your market on the basis of that criteria. For example, you are segmenting your market on the basis of age. So when you segment the market, you have to segment it maybe children, infants, right? Toddlers. Then we have children. Then we have adults. Then we have the people who are in their late 40s, right? The people who are 20 to 40 years old, young people, late 40s. And after that, we have some old people also. So market segmentation is basically a bridge between managerial analysis, and managerial actions. Okay. Okay. So next is market segmentation. So what is written? The process of dividing a large heterogeneous market. So what is the meaning of heterogeneous? What is meaning of heterogeneous, which
Like
is written?
something which is very huge, vast.
Right. Anybody else? Okay. So heterogeneous to extent means large, but heterogeneous means something which has lot of different things, right? For example, have you seen blogs of children? You know, they are very colorful. It is like a heterogeneous pile of different blogs. They have a yellow blog, blue blog, red blog, pink blog. But what is the task we give them? To differentiate or to make groups of similar blocks. So what do? We tell them to divide a heterogeneous pile into homogeneous groups. That means make a pile of yellow blocks, then make a pile of green blocks, then make a pile of pink blocks. Whenever he or she is making a pile of pink blocks, then he'll be that block will only be having pink blocks, right? The second group will be having green blocks. The next block will be having blue blocks. So here I'm trying to explain is that heterogeneous means something which has different varieties in a particular block, and when we divide that different varieties into similar kind of groups, groups having similar kind of things, that is called as homogeneous blocks. So in these parties, also birthday parties, we give them a certain task in which different kind of grains or different kind of beans are mixed together in a single bowl, right? For example, some rajma is there, some chola is there, some different kind of dals are there, right? And your task is to put rajma in one bowl, to put chola in one bowl, to put dals in one bowl. So the initial bowl that contain all those things together, that is a heterogeneous market, right? We have Indians also, we have Indian American also, we have Caucasians also, we have Indian Africans also. So that is heterogeneous market. When we divide the market on the basis of ethnicity, for example, Indians at one side, NRIs on other another side, Caucasians on another group, then Indo Africans, then Indo Americans, then Indo Europeans, right? So this is how we make the heterogeneous market into homogeneous groups. So into more homogeneous groups of people with similar wants, needs, and demographic profile. Once we have sorted out the homogeneous groups, they have similar wants, needs, and demographic profile. They will definitely have a lot of things in common, right? So this is called as segmentation. To whom a product may be targeted. Once you segment the market, then you pick the the market that you are targeting on, then you can decide that which market to target. So this is the meaning of targeting. Okay. So the next slide is market segmentation criteria. Now, what is this market segmentation criteria? Market segmentation has these three criteria which we should always keep in mind whenever we are doing a marketing segmentation exercise. What is the first criteria? Identifiability, accessibility, and responsiveness. So, what is identifiability? Means can the segment be identified or measured in the terms of size and purchasing power? See, the market segment should have a identification. When I say identification means there should be sufficient number of people in a particular market segment. Okay. For example, if you are segmenting the market on the basis of geniuses, their IQ is very high. The gray matter should be highest in their mind. So in all of the India, if you'll find them, you'll hardly find 100 people, right? Among 130 crore people. So you cannot segment the market on the basis of this criteria, right? So this is called as identifiability. The next criteria is accessibility. Accessibility means they should be accessible. For example, you are targeting the world on the basis of presidents of countries. So can you approach the presidents of each of the countries? No, it is practically impossible. You cannot travel to each and every country and you can assess the president. No. So this is accessibility. Next is responsiveness. Will the product match the want of the chosen segment, or is it worthwhile to break down the product characteristics and promotional efforts sufficiently to reach a segment? That means, will the kind of product appeal to that kind of a segment that I'm making, that is called as responsiveness, right? So, for example, if you are choosing females, right? So females, they like cosmetics, they like makeup. So definitely, if you're targeting females and you are selling a cosmetic product, they are going to like it and they are going to purchase it, right? So responsiveness plays a very important part. If you are making a laptop for college going students, they are definitely going to take it uh, because whenever you enters into a college, you enter into a MBA program, BBA program, a laptop is generally needed, right? So that is called as responsiveness. So when I talk about market segmentation criteria, I am talking about identifiability, accessibility, and responsiveness. These three criteria. So all in all, you should keep this thing in mind, that whatever marketing segment I am making, it should be a practical market segment, which should have good number of people, because at the end of the day you want profits, है ना? You want to have profits. If you are segmenting the market only for two people, three people, or hundreds of people in crores of Indians, you are not going to get any profits. So these three criteria should be fulfilled. The people, they should be accessible, they should be identifiable, and they should be responsive. They should be willing to take your product. So these three are the basic marketing segmentation criteria. Okay. Next is state of being segmentation. See, this also we have already studied, that generally it is easier to measure than the state of mind. See, it is very difficult to understand what is going in the customer minds rather than the practical things, like for example, where he is living, what is the age, what is the income, what is the education. So it is always easy to segment on the basis of these tangible criteria as compared to the mindset of the customer, or psychological thinking, or ideological processes of the customer. That also we are going to study. But right now, this slide tries to explain that whenever you are segmenting the market on the basis of uh, this physical criteria, that is called as segmenting on the basis of tangible things, rather to measure or segment on the basis of state of mind. So, can you explain what is geographical segmentation? We have already explained, we have already discussed geographical segmentation.
Ma'am, it is like something which we specify according to a region or area, like keeping in mind.
Right, very good. So when we are segmenting the market on the basis of region and area, that is called as geographic segmentation. Good. Then we know what is on the basis of age segmentation. If you are segmenting the market on the basis of age, then we know what is income, education, right? Gender, we know, race and ethnicity, we know, right? So these are the various criteria on the basis of which you can go for segmentation. Okay. Now this we need to understand. This is the Wales classification. Okay. So what is this Wales classification? This Wales classification is basically segmenting the market on the basis of the mindset of the customer, or the behavioral uh, aspects of the customer, right? I hope this slide is visible to you all. This is called as Wales classification. Now, what is this Wales classification? Wales classification is basically an ideology which focuses on segmenting a market, right? So he has segmented the market on the basis of two criteria, right? What are these two criteria? The first criteria is called as primary motivation, and the second criteria is called as resources and innovation, right? So we'll take uh, resources and innovation. And what is the primary motivation? It is ideals, achievement, and self expression. So let's talk about ideals first, right? What are ideals? See, in these rectangles which are made of blue color and green color and this pink color, you will be able to see primary motivation written. Okay, can you see it? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, fine. So these are the primary motivation factors. What are these? These are ideals, achievement, and self expression. Ideals means guided by knowledge and principles. So, what are your basic principles like? Right? Whether you are thinkers or you are believers, right? So, there is a difference between thinkers and believers. Thinker means thinkers are the people who use their own mind, who use logics, who use reasoning to prove a point or to take a particular decision. And believers are the people, they follow a set line, right? They uh, they do not apply their own mind, or they do not, logic apply logic or practical thinking or statistical findings, right? So there are two kinds of people on the basis of ideals. The first are called as thinkers, and the second are called as believers. The thinkers are the people who use their own mind, who apply logic, and then they take a particular product, right? Believers are the people who follow the general guidelines, the societal guidelines, or the guidelines which is set up by the society. They do not use their logic or their logic, all those things. So they are called as believers, right? So let's take example of thinkers. Can you give any example of thinkers and believers?
Ma'am, like before buying any product, we used to think a lot.
Right, right. So this can happen. So, for example, um, let's take example of thinkers and believer. I uh, want, I want to protect myself from corona, and I want to take some, some maybe some aloe vera juice or something to boost my immunity, right? So, if I am a thinker, I will go to a shop. I will check the ingredients of a particular juice, aloe vera juice, or whatever juice uh, they are giving to me. I will check the ingredients. I will check the expiry date of that product. If I'm a thinker, I'm telling you, right? I will check the ingredients. I will Google all the ingredients, whether these are good for me or not. Shall I take it or not? I will make my mind and then I will take it, right? Now, who are the people who are believers? They will go to the shop and they will ask them कि भैया पतंजलि का दे दो, जो भी है अच्छा वाला इम्यूनिटी बढ़ाने के लिए, क्योंकि उनके माइंडसेट में है कि भाई पतंजलि है, बाबा रामदेव है, तो वो अच्छा है, ठीक है. They are not applying their logic. They have not checked the ingredients of that Patanjali aloe vera juice. They have not checked that how many artificial ingredients or flavors or artificial colors they have used, right? And they will take that uh, just because their father think that Patanjali is a good friend, or they are associated with a yoga sansthan, and those people are saying that Patanjali is very good and you should take Patanjali product. So these are the people who are believers, right? For example, when we talk about Indian mindset, these websites, shadi.com and jeevansati.com, these are for the people who are believers, not the people who are thinkers. Because believers, they think that whatever is the society is going on, that a girl should get married when she's 25, or 25 is the highest age and you should get married, और लड़का नहीं मिल रहा है तो कहीं से भी ढूंढ के लाएंगे उसको, So Jeevansati.com and Shadi.com are the websites which are making life easy and comfortable for the people who are believers, right? Now, when I talk about thinkers, thinkers are the people who are not going to maybe they can consider these websites, but uh, they will wanting be that kind of a direction in which they want to meet the person first, they want to talk to that person irrespective of what their parents think. So I think you are getting my point of what is the basic difference between thinkers and believers. If you are using your own mind, your own logic, your own thinking process to take a decision irrespective of what your parents say, what your friends say, what the society say, you are a thinker, right? And believer, if I am a believer, I will believe what my parents are saying, what the society is saying, and what everybody thinks is good, I will do that, right? So that is called as believer. Now let's move to the second criteria, that is called as achievement, right? The first are called as achiever and the second are called as strivers. Now, can anybody explain the difference between these two words? We know what are achievers, we know what are strivers. Nobody.
Achievers can be classified as people who are always motivated to like achieve something, like gain something.
Mhm. See, good. It is partially correct. See, strivers are the people who are lacking something in their life. Maybe that thing is financial resources, maybe that thing is other kind of resources, or whatever that is. They always get motivated by achievers. Achievers are the people who actually have something in their hand. They have achieved something, right? For example, if you want to become an IAS officer or RAS officer, right? So RAS officer who has achieved that particular rank, he is achiever. But I do not have that much of financial resources to go to a coaching institute to take books or to give that much of time. Time is also a resource, right? So I am a striver. Why I am a striver? Because I have a feeling that I have less resources, but I want to become a IAS officer. So I am a striver, right? So strivers are the people who want uh, to achieve heights in their careers, but they somehow do not able to achieve the heights because mm, uh, they are low in resources. They do not have money or they do not have resources to reach to a particular state, right? But they very hardly want to reach to that state, right? So these are the people who are called as strivers, right? So we have studied the primary motivation, and in primary motivation we have studied ideals and achievement. Now let's come to the left side of the slide. What is written? Ideals meet is written guided by knowledge and principles. Achievement meet is written look for products and services that demonstrate success to the peers. So see, achievement means achievers जो है, the people who are achievers, they consume similar kind of products, right? For example, the very famous sports personnel, they are generally on a vegan diet. They consume gluten-free products. So if I am, somebody who is a achiever, then if my colleague is also consuming gluten-free product or fat-free product or sugar-free product, I will also consume that. So if I am segmenting the market on the basis of achievers and strivers, then I will make gluten-free products for the people who are achievers because they have achieved something in life, they want sustainability in life, and they will consume that kind of a product. Or I would say that if I'm a car company, maybe I'll make a high-end car for those people who are achievers because they have financial resources, they have money. So I will make maybe BMW or Audi or Ferrari or that kind of cars for them. And the people who are strivers, so definitely they are having low financial resources. So I will be making these kind of things for strivers. Maybe a car which is economical but looks good, right? Looks good, gives a feel of that kind of a car which is very costly. So if I'm a striver, I will take that car. I hope you are getting my point, right? If I am a striver, I want to show the society that I am achiever. So whatever I can take in my capacity, I will take that, right? So that is the meaning of striver. Okay. Because there are people who can afford iPhone. They are achievers. They can afford iPhone. But there are people who cannot afford iPhone, right? Like me, I cannot spend 70,000 rupees on a phone. I have budgets, I have bills to pay, right? So if I'm making my ringtone as a Apple ringtone only to show other people around the society that I carry a Apple iPhone, make me a striver. I am a striver now. And my sister, right, who is a very famous IAS officer, she has that much of salary. For record, I do not have a sister, just giving you example. She is a IAS officer and she has a great salary and she carries this iPhone 8 and the greatest phone, 1,20,000 rupees carrying her. So she is a achiever. And because when I am around her, whenever my phone is ringing, that Apple iTunes is ringing, I want to show her that I also have a, so that I am a striver at that point of time. Okay. Then we have self expression. Self expression means there are two kind of categories. We have experiencers and we have makers, right? So what is written in self expression? Desire social or physical activity, variety, and risk. So experiencers are the people who always try to try new things, who always try to use innovative things uh, for their particular experience. They will if they go to a restaurant, they will order anything new that they have never tested before. Maybe they'll go to a sushi restaurant, a Japanese restaurant, a new restaurant which is open in a city. But if you ask me, I will never go to a Japanese restaurant. I will always love Indian food, right? I will never try Japanese food because I do not like to take risk in my life, right? So I am not a experiencer. I am a maker. Maker means I'm making the same things again and again, using the same things again and again because they are safe to use. That's why I'm using it. Experiencers are the people who are prone to take new products, new technology, new innovation, new things in the life, right? These are the people who will always go to a new, new place every time. For example, they are planning a vacation every year. They will never go to the same place again, right? They are experiencers. For example, you are going to a vacation, right? So if you are going to a vacation, then it's okay. But the thing is, every year you are going to Haridwar, right? Every year if you are going to Haridwar, so you are not an experiencer, you are a maker. But if you are 1 year you are going to Ranthambore and another year you are going to Pushkar and then you are going to Delhi and Jim Corbett National Park, every time you want something innovative in your life, so you are a experiencer, and if not, you are a maker. uh, So I hope all these 6 points are clear to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
any confusion, you can ask me right away. No. Okay. Okay. Right. So now we will come to resources and innovation, right? So here you can see resources and innovation is written on the right side, top right side, high resources, high innovation, and low resources and low innovation. See, this is basically the reality of the society. If you are a high resource and high innovation person, you are going to fall in the first three criteria. You will be a thinker, you will be a achiever, or you will be an experiencer. Can I go to different holiday destinations every year if I do not have money? I cannot do that. If I have only very limited amount of money, I can go to my nearest place only, right? I will keep going to Pushkar, keep going to Pushkar if I do not have money, right? But if I have money, if I have resources, I can go to London, I can go to Paris, I can go to wherever I want, right? So the first three quadrants, which are thinkers, achievers, and experiencers, they are the people who are high resource and high innovation. High resource means they have high financial resources. They have high all kind of resources that they have. They have high contacts, you know, and high. When I say high innovation means these are the people who they love innovation. They like to try new things because they can, right? And when I talk about believers and makers and these kind of people, these are the people who are low in resources. We do not have money, we do not have those kind of resources so that we can buy a Ferrari or we can go to Paris or we can go to hiking or these kind of things, right? So that's how the dividation has been made in Wales classification, which is very realistic, I should say. But at the same time, if you are segmenting the market on the basis of Wales classification, it becomes very difficult for you to target the market because you cannot enter into my mind and you cannot read it that whether I'm a thinker or a believer. You have to observe me for 2 or 3 months of time, see my purchase behavior, see that the kind of decisions I'm making. Then you will be able to identify whether I'm a thinker or I'm a believer, right? So that's why we have said that if we are doing this kind of segmentation, it becomes very difficult for us to find out the people. But at the same time, if you are doing this kind of a segmentation, you will be very successful if you are doing it, right? You will be very successful because ideologies, philosophies, mindset is something which is very personal to you, right? And you follow it. If you are a thinker, you will be thinker. If you are a believer, you will be believer. At any point of time, it cannot change, right? Can your parents change? No, they cannot change. At this age, you cannot change them. Their ideologies, their thinking are so firm, right? And they do not want to change themselves. They think that whatever they are doing is best, right? So you cannot change the basic ideologies, the basic philosophies of life, what kind of person you are, that doesn't change, right? So this is actually a type of segmentation, and if you are doing that, you are definitely going to be successful, but it is difficult. So, what is written in resources and innovation? The resources that one consumes extend beyond age, income, education, energy, self confidence, intellectualization, novelty seeking. Let us understand the meaning. Okay. See, resources and innovation means I am here, we are talking about the monetary resources, the education resources, the income resources, right? So these are the resources which are written. What are they? Intellectualism, novelty seeking means you are seeking anything new in your life, innovativeness, impulsiveness, leadership, vanity play a crucial role. These psychological traits, in conjunction with key demographics, determine the individual resources. Means key demographic means what is your income, where do you live, right? Um, for example, it cannot happen that you are an achiever and you are living in a basti. This cannot happen. If you are an achiever, you will have a decent place to live, right? If you are an experiencer, that means you have money, right? If you are a believer, that means you do not have that much of resources, that's why you are a believer. That generally happens. Obviously, there are exceptions, there are exceptions which exist in the society, but generally it happens that way. Okay. So this is Wales classification. This is very important from exam point of view, and any kind of short note can come on any of the topic. So I highly recommend that you draw this diagram in your copies And just for your own knowledge, write down any two sentences for these particular topics, and with one example. I have given you example in all these topics, right? For thinkers, I have given you example. For believers, I have given you example of Patanjali. So thinkers are the people who do what? Who will do a research on the contents of a particular product, the expiry date of a particular product, whether it is good for me or good for not me or not. For example, if a doctor is giving you prescription, then also you are googling and checking. You are definitely a thinker, right? A doctor is written you medication and you are googling it and checking it whether it is good for you or not. You are a thinker, right? And who is a believer? डॉक्टर तो भगवान है भाई, जो दिया है आंख बंद करके खा लो, ठीक है? सो आई एम अ बिलीवर, राइट? Maybe I do not have Google, maybe I do not have smartphone, maybe I do not have that much of thinking or mind that it can be checked googled also, right? So you write down the examples also, and you write down two points on all these things. Wales classification is very important from exam point of view. Any of this can come. For example, this kind of question can come. For example, write a short note on achievers in Wales classification. Write a short note on makers. Write an example on survivors. Right? These kind of question can come in exam. Next thing, after Wales classification, we are going to understand segment, product benefit segmentation. Okay. See, what is product benefit segmentation? Let us understand. Features means what the company puts into the product. Thick soles, high back, rough thread, or special laces. What are the benefits? What the consumer goes out of the product: comfort, ankle length, traction, and laces stay tight. So, product benefit segmentation means what are the features that you are inculcating in your product, and what are the benefits that your customer is taking out of that product. So here is an example of sport shoes, right? So if you are segmenting your market on the basis of those people who are looking for benefits, that means you are looking for thinkers, right? Then what you are going to do, you are going to make thick soles, you are going to make uh, high back. Thick soles means it is going to give you comfort. If a product has thick sole, it is going to give you comfort. High back, if it is high back, it gives you a good ankle support. Okay, so whatever characteristics you are putting in your product, that is actually benefiting the customers. What is the next one? Rough thread. So if it is a rough thread, then it will have less of traction. Then if you have special laces, then laces stay tight. आपको बार बार लेस बांधने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी, ठीक है? So if you add these kind of benefits or features in your product, these are the kind of benefits that your customer is going to get from the product. If you are segmenting your product on the basis of usage, product usage segmentation, then it can be on the basis of heavy, medium, or light users. So, who are the people who are heavy users? These are the people who are athletes who are going for practicing daily. This is an example of sports management. Heavy usage means the people who use that product on the daily basis. So, they want a good quality product, right? If I'm using a product daily, I want a lot of endurance and perseverance. मेरे को नहीं चाहिए कि मैं हर 2 महीने में जाके नई चीज खरीदूं, right? If I'm a medium user, I can compromise with quality. And if I'm a light user, that I can definitely take a sasta product, a use and throw product, because I'm a very light user, right? So it depends on the product usage segmentation. If you are segmenting your market on the basis of product usage segmentation, then also it can be heavy users, medium users, and light users. Not all consumers consume at the same rate. So definitely it can happen that your friend and you have taken the shoe together and you both practice daily, but you end up breaking your shoes after 6 months, and your friend's shoes look as new as it has been taken yesterday. So every consumer consume at a different rate. Maybe your friend is managing your shoe better than you, right? That's why your shoe is now no longer useful, and your friend's shoe is useful. Levels of consumption. Levels of consumption differ from sport to sport. How much time you are practicing, how much time you are on field, right? It is different from different kind of sports. So level of consumption also differ from age group to age group. Definitely, if you are a school going student, you will go to school and after that you will come home and practice. But if you are a professional athlete, you will practice all day, right? So level of usage is also different. Generate more from low or medium than from first time user. So that is how you have to plan your products so that you are able to use that. So here we have a case study. I've added a case study of Reebok, how Reebok has done their segmentation, right? So as you can see that Reebok has segmented the market into three following divisions. So what are these divisions? Sport wears like t-shirts, caps, tracksuits, etc. Sport shoes, sports equipments like cricket bats and tennis rackets, etc. So Reebok has segmented the market on the kind of products they are giving to the market. क्या क्या products हैं उनके? एक तो है उनके अपीयरेंस, जैसे टी शर्ट है, ट्रैक सूट है, कैप्स है. दूसरा है शूज का एक अलग सेगमेंट है, और स्पोर्ट्स इक्विपमेंट्स का एक अलग सेगमेंट है. सो देयर आर इन टोटलिटी थ्री काइंड ऑफ segments. Abhi, what they have done is they have again segmented these into four sub-segments. Four sub-segments means they have again segmented the shoe segment into four different segments. Now, what are they? They are tennis shoes, they are cricket shoes, they are jogging shoes, and they are golfer shoes. Right? So they have again segmented into four things. So one word is written in the slide, niche. Do we know the meaning of this word niche? What is niche? Okay. So let me tell you, niche means something which is very small and specific. So there are very specific people who are specifically using tennis shoes. Okay. There are very specific people who are either training for cricket, playing Ranji or in national international matches, who are wearing cricket shoes, right? There are very specific people who wear jogging shoes, right? And very specific people who wear golfers shoes. Very less people are playing golf, and among them there are very less people who are very specific for their shoes. So if we are targeting a very specific or a narrow segment of a market, then it is called as niche. Okay. Now what are the characteristics of niche? The customers in a niche have a distinct and somewhat complex set of needs. They are ready to pay a premium to the firm best satisfying their need. So if I'm looking for jogging shoes and I'm going for jogging daily, I'm ready to pay extra penny because I'm doing that daily. I want the best quality shoes. So if you are very specifically targeting the niche segment, you can charge them a higher premium pricing also. To be successful, the niche marketer need to be specialized in his operations. A niche leader is not attracted by competitors. So attracted by competitors means there is no one in your competition basically. If you are specifically making golfer shoes, you are the only one in the market who is making golfer shoes. But you have to make sure that you should be able to satisfy the need of a golfer. He should feel comfortable in your shoes. It should be according to the challenges that a golfer faces on his field, and it should be helpful and convenient for him. So that's how Reebok has done its segmentation. Okay, so I think that's it for today. Today we have completed sports segmentation, and in sports segmentation, sports marketing segmentation, we have studied Wales' framework of segmentation. We have studied product segmentation, we have studied user rate segmentation, and we have done a case study on Reebok also. Okay, so I am ending the recording now. Just a second.